Hi, everybody. Welcome to my workshop, The 3 Massive Mistakes That Crush Sales Growth. I want to cover a couple things today. In particular, I want to talk about these 3 massive mistakes that crush sales growth and set up for you a process that allows you to identify, address, and fix these mistakes so that you're in a position to accelerate growth. In particular, one of the things that I really look at these days is what does it mean to accelerate growth, and why would you want to accelerate growth? Well, in particular, I want to be very specific about what we're looking to do here. When I say accelerate growth, I want to see you double your business in the next 18 months. Maybe it's 12 months, maybe it's 24 months, but really I'm setting a target to say we want to double our business every 18 months. Now, if you're a billion Fortune 100 company, that may be a little bit tough to do just off the bat. It gets harder and harder to double. But if you are doing between $50,000 a year and $50 million a year, we want to double every year and a half. That's really critical. So our target market, really the people that we seem to be most successful working with, have between $500,000 and $5 million, maybe $10 million in sales. And yes, the absolute goal here is to double every 18 months. That's where we know we're being successful. So if you're going to double in the next 18 months, what are the problems that you're facing? Because if you're here, you're probably aware of the fact that it's not always that easy to grow. You've probably done a number of things that have gotten you to where you are right now, and perhaps you're bumping up into some ceilings above you that just make it harder to keep going. And oftentimes, what I hear are that the problems that you're going to be facing are things often like, I need more leads, I need more sales, I want more customers, I really need more money. The smart ones, the people that really got their act together, are often saying, I need more great customers, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. And finally, I hear a lot of times from entrepreneurs that are working super hard, getting their business going, that what they really need is more time in the day. And God knows I feel like that from time to time too. And I have a program here that I'm going to tell you how to fix it. It doesn't always mean I even take my own advice. So if those are your problems, the flip side of those problems really is what I call the results. And what is it that you want to get from your business? And if we're saying that our focus is on doubling your growth in 18 months, well, then really the primary result you're looking for is some sort of proven or repeatable system that allows you to consistently grow your business. Oftentimes we can bring that back to financial rewards. I want more money. And oftentimes we can bring that quite emotional. I know for me this is certainly true, but when everything is going well and the business is growing, I have a certain calm feeling that comes from knowing that I have financial security. And for me, the reason I'm here is because I want to make the world a better place. Big believer in thinking locally and acting globally. So let's talk about that for a quick second. I will tell you just a couple things about myself. This presentation is about you, not about me, but it's useful to know that I have a particular passion for building businesses and successful teams. I love small business. It's one of the places where you can make a huge impact and really make a difference that often gets lost in the world of Fortune 500 companies. I came out of the Fortune 500 world, spent the first 25 years of my working career working for global giants in sales, marketing, and client relationship management in particular, generally in the management consulting world. About 10 years ago, I founded the predecessor company to Aquila Partners, and 5 years ago, we founded Aquila Partners, and I given myself, because I founded it, I gave myself the title of Chief Acceleration Officer. We've now grown pretty substantially. We have offices in Boston, Philadelphia, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Seattle, San Francisco, and hope to add a few more next year. And as a result, my team and I think, are particularly well positioned to help companies that really want to grow and grow rapidly. And the main reason is because as a group, we've made a lot of mistakes, and I want to share some of those mistakes with you, make sure that you don't make them as well. Shared a couple pictures with you. I have a particular passion for sailing and sailboat racing, and just thought you might like to know that. And more importantly, you'll see pictures of sailing and sailboats and boats in general throughout this presentation, mostly because I put the presentation together and I like to look at boats. So that's what you're going to see. So what about you? I want you to take just a quick second and think about what's the biggest problem that you face in your business today. What's the one thing that you want that you don't have? If you can write that down, that'd be great. You can put it in the chat box if you're listening to this live. If it's anything different than sort of the issues that we raised early on, I'd be really interested in knowing that. But I want you to really think about what's the biggest problem that you face in your business today. Okay, because I'm going to tell you right now that biggest problem you face in your business can be fixed relatively easily by focusing on these three massive mistakes that crush sales growth. We're going to start number one with fuzzy focus. And what I really mean by that is I want you to think about how you narrow your, how the act of narrowing your focus, narrowing your niche is actually the key to accelerating your success. Second, what I call more marketing mush. It's amazing how much terrible marketing there is out there in the world. And the reason that there's terrible marketing is because everybody seems to be under the impression that you have to sound like everybody else. And we use lots of jargon and platitudes in our marketing materials. And guess what? When you do that, there is absolutely no way to differentiate your business. And if you can't differentiate your business, then you are going to sound like everybody else. And the net result is you're going to be competing on price. And I don't know about you, but that's the one thing I don't like doing, is competing on price. Finally, what I call sloppy sales process, and it's a recognition that old school selling doesn't work anymore. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit of detail. But really what that means is we have to rely on our marketing to be effective at generating leads, and then let our salespeople focus on closing business. I really don't like to see salespeople have that dual responsibility for lead generation and closing sales. It tends to be very inefficient in today's world, and we'll look at some of the reasons why. Okay, so when we're done here, I want you to sort of understand and have a real roadmap for sales success. I'm going to show you specifically how to identify and fix these three massive mistakes. I'll give you a proven process to successfully implement so that you can do this within your own business. And I do have a special thank you for attending if you stick all the way to the end. We'll go just about an hour too. So when we talk about sticking to the end, it's going to take us a solid hour to get through this. If it didn't take an hour, probably wouldn't be worth it. And you will find that this is 98% all about content and very little about us, because I know you're not really here to learn about me. But I got to tell you a little bit of something along the way. Anyway, so let's hit right into number one, fuzzy focus. I want to look at fuzzy focus in a couple ways. First of all, we are going to identify the fact that I want to cover the 80-20 rule, because it is the most important thing that I want you to consider as you're working on your business across the board. Second thing is we need to really understand why people buy what they buy, why people buy anything. And the third is that you bring these two things together, and it's going to allow us to be crystal clear on what that niche is that we serve. All right, so let's look at the 80-20 rule here. First things first, what is it? The 80-20 rule is also referred to as the Pareto principle, and as this little diagram shows you, it's designed to say that there are always a few things that stand out and make a big difference. So 20% of any input, customers, problems, salespeople, prospects, you name it. There's a handful, there's a small chunk of the input that basically gives you the majority of your output. And it means a couple of things, and we're going to look at it, but the other thing I want you to recognize, which until I studied this a little bit I didn't know, is that the 80-20 rule is a universal law, and that's that you will find this in everything. Pareto was an Italian philosopher, I think, and he figured it out when he was looking at the distribution of wealth in Italy 1,000 years ago, and we will recognize it in everything we look at. And the last thing is that it's fractal. So if you look at that chart, of the 80% of the output, you will find that 80-20 rule repeats itself, so that there's a small segment of that subset group that accounts for the majority of that output, and so on and so on. So those are a couple of the keys that we need to remember as we think about the 80-20 rule. Now let me give you a couple quick examples, because I want to show you how this comes through everything. So this past summer, I attended the PGA Tour. I got to go on Saturday and Sunday. It was really a lot of fun. It was pouring rain, so we did spend a lot of time wandering through the mud. But as I was leaving, I took a look at the player list and the prize money list, and it just jumped out to me that how directly the 80-20 rule applied to what we were looking at here. So there were 172 players entered in this golf tournament. The top 24 took home 80% of the prize money. That's 13%. Jimmy Walker, big fan, he won the tournament. So one player took home 18% of the prize money. Jason Day, who came in second, took home 10% of the prize money. So those two players, that's slightly more than 1% of the players that entered the tournament, took home slightly less than 20% of all the prize money given out. It's a $10 million purse. So they took home $1,880,000. So let's take a look at another example. This is wealth distribution across the world by gross domestic product, top 20 countries. In 2011, there were 196 countries with $80 trillion in GDP. The top 20 countries, which is 10%, equaled $63 trillion. So 80% of the wealth of all the countries was brought home by 9% of the countries. Take that down one more level. The United States of America, our great country. Just one country took home with less than 1%, 0.5%, took home 19% of all, or generated 19% of all the wealth in the world. So across the world, we see the 80-20 rule working, and this is why I say it really is a universal law, and it's everywhere. Take this to just the 10 wealthiest people in the United States. Again, 2011 numbers. But the 10 wealthiest people controlled $381 billion in assets. The top 3, or 30% of the top 10, controlled 55% of the wealth. So think about that. What's true for the world, the 7 billion people in the world, is also true for the 10 richest people in the world. So it is a universal law, and it is fractal. So what does this mean for your business? Well, I actually think that this has huge importance for your business, and I want you to really consider it. I'm telling you that the 80-20 rule is true for everything. It's true for your salespeople, your products, your problems, your advertising efforts, your web pages, the reasons that people buy. It's going to be everywhere, and therefore you need to know it. And the reason you need to know it is because by focusing on those few top clients, you can really create your niche and dramatically grow your business, as well as one of the holy grails of being an entrepreneur is putting yourself in a position to make more and work less, right? Work smarter, not harder. We talk about it all the time. So as I say, if you can figure out how to do this within your business, you're in a position to repeat it often and then take long vacations. Because when I said it's fractal, let's also just look at what that means. If 80% of your profits is coming from 20% of your clients, 64% of your profits is going to come from 4% of your clients. Or 50% of your profits is going to come from 1% of your clients. So what do you want to do? Do you want to work really hard to get a little more profit from all clients? Or do you just want to figure out what that top client is doing and double it 1 or 2 or 3 times? If you do that, you'll find you've got lots of time and your profits will quadruple. There's a really good business book out there called The 4-Hour Workweek, and essentially that's the story that he tells in that book. So I want you to understand how to use this. This is the normal distribution curve. We're all familiar with it from high school, I guess. Most people fall within the average performance area. And what I want you to know is that I don't care about average. If you're looking at all your customers, most of your customers, 70% of them roughly, are going to fall within that normal distribution curve. But what we do see here is that some small percent, 2, 3, 5% of your customers are going to be the high performers. And they're the ones that actually are going to drive everything you want to do if you're going to be in a position to double your growth every 18 months. So if the bell curve doesn't matter, I tell you that the power curve is what you have to embrace across the board. This little power curve shows us how to rank customers, or how customers are distributed almost always. And you're going to see this everywhere. And by the way, if you don't see this, what it's telling you is that you're leaving money on the table. But that power curve is showing you that there are a few clients who are generating a significant amount of money. In this case, the axis shows willingness to spend money. The average in here might be $75 approximately, but you got a couple that are willing to spend $600. So if you're thinking about how to grow your business, do you want to find customers that want to give you $50, or do you want to find customers that want to give you $650? I know the answer to that question. Hope you figured it out by now too. So finally, how else to use it? One of the things that tells us in this process that I'm going to repeat over and over again is this idea of figuring out, figuring out who are your top clients. Because if you don't figure out exactly who they are, we end up with this constant fear that, oh, I'm wedded to 1 or 2 top clients, and if I lose them, my business goes to hell in a handbasket. No, I want you to know who your top clients are, and then I want you to put the 80-20 rule to work for your top clients. So what does that mean? Love your top clients. You want to put 80% of your time and energy into making sure that 20% of the client base is happy. Why? Well, because it's really painful when they leave. But more importantly, they're going to be your best source for selling more. They already know, like, and trust you. So if you've got new products, new lines of business, new things to sell them, that's the group you want to go to. You'll be able to drive growth most easily from it. And third, finally, the most important thing from a marketing standpoint is we want to find more clients who look just like your best client, right? So that's why this 80-20 rule is so incredibly important, and it's the first step in figuring out how to put fuzzy focus to bed forever. So the second thing we want to look at is why people buy. So why do you think people buy? Why do people buy anything? Well, I propose that there are only 2 reasons that anybody wants to buy anything. The first is that they have a problem and they don't want that problem anymore. I got a problem, and I believe if I give you money, you can make my problem go away. That's generally the first and probably most important reason that people buy what they buy. But the second, and maybe slightly less, but also good reason that people buy what they buy, is that they want something that they don't have. And they believe if they give you money, they will get it. Okay? So, what problems are you solving? And in particular, if we're going to build a business that allows us to double in 18 months, we're going to have to really be conscious of what our top clients are doing. So when we look at our top clients, what is the specific problem that you're solving for your top client? What specific results do you point to? What do you generate for your top client? Sometimes that can be a hard question to answer. It amazes me how many times when I offer that people don't really know, but I'll tell you how you know. Ask your top client. If I picked up the phone and called your number one client, what would they say was the one problem that you solved for them? What would the one great result be that they would say? And these are your top clients, so they're going to know, and you're going to be able to find that answer right off the bat. So when we think about fuzzy focus, we have to be very specific about identifying the problem that you solve. And that problem is one that's really said from your customer's point of view. Second, or another way to look at it is when we talk about problems, we have to look at problems from the customer's standpoint. This is a chart of Maslow's hierarchy of need, and it's an important thing to remember because when we talk about problems, the problems that people are concerned about are those about basic food and shelter, otherwise known as physiology, and then they think about safety, love and belonging, esteem, finally self-actualization. But when you're talking to your clients, I want you to really understand the fact that all they care about are their problems, and those problems and the problems that get people's attention are things that relate to I need more energy, more money, more time, things that will improve safety and security, how do I have better relationships, what can improve my career, give me more money, my business. Sex is obviously a great driver for us, so if you can figure out how to make people's sex life better, you will create a great business. Stress levels, reducing stress, creating admiration. These are the problems that people pay money for you to solve. Okay, now let's focus a little bit on niche, because one of the things we just talked about is when we understand our great clients, we then have to understand why they're buying from us, really understand the problems that we're focused on. And if you start to do that and you start to really narrow that down, one of the things that we're doing is saying, well, this is our niche. This is the core group that we want to serve and serve well. And I really don't want you to be scared in any way that by narrowing your niche, you are limiting what you can do in your business. And I will tell you, it is the number one mistake that small business owners make, is thinking that they have to be able to do everything for everybody. Because when you do that, you will get nothing. So what niche do you serve? Well, if you can't answer that question in a very specific manner, I'm going to tell you to do what we just did before. Go back and look at your best customers. Who are they specifically? What are their demographics? What are their psychographics, i.e. what are the hot button issues that they're struggling with? Where do they live? What do they do? What do they enjoy? How do we get their attention? It's only by being very specific about a niche are we even able to put in place a plan that will allow us to double our business in 18 months. So I'm going to give you two quick examples that you may or may not have heard about. And we're not really talking about small businesses here. The second one was a small business to start. But let's just look at what this means when we say if you narrow your niche, you're in an incredibly strong position to just grow your business dramatically. This is a picture of a Chevy Ram truck. I spent a couple years working for Bob Lutz when he was at Exide Battery up in Reading, and he talked often about this. He wrote about it in his book, I've never forgotten this example because those of you that are old enough may remember the old Dodge Ram was a really boring-looking truck. It had terrible market share. Nobody liked it. They had to basically have huge incentives just to sell it. They had best had 5% market share. So the designers went out to create the new Dodge Ram, and they came back with this very bold looking design. I think they call it the Mack truck design because it gives it a very masculine Mack truck like looking front to the car. And it had an interesting result when they tested it, and they found that 30 to 35% of the focus group people just loved the way this car looked, thought it was just the greatest thing they'd ever seen. But basically everybody else either hated it or didn't care. And this created a great concern for the executives at Dodge at the time, because you have to spend billions of dollars to put a new truck platform in, and they were going into this knowing that 65, 70% of the population really didn't like their design. Some didn't like it very strongly. But as Bob Lutz pointed out, they had 5% market share at the time. So if 35% loved it, then that was going to be good for their business, and it's exactly what happened. They had a core group that was passionate about this design. So they built their truck, and they went from 5 to 14% market share within 2 years. And if you know anything about trucks in the United States, that is billions of dollars of profit. But it's not for the faint of heart, because they really narrowed their niche. They went after a very specific kind of truck buyer who basically wanted to be a big rig truck driver without actually having to be a big rig truck driver. But those people were willing to spend money, and spend money at a premium level to get those cars. So here's another example that you would certainly recognize. Domino's Pizza started as a very small pizza chain, but what they did do was figure out that they could narrow their focus on college kids, specifically, as I like to say, drunk, stoned college kids who were hungry in the middle of the night, and they created the 30 minutes or it's free, and what they focused on was the speed of delivery. It wasn't about quality. They were not making pizza that appealed to everybody. There were no wood-fired pizza stoves in their things. Most of them didn't even have restaurants, and they were almost strictly takeout operations. But as a result of serving that very specific niche and giving them exactly what they wanted, Domino's went from a pizza shop to a global giant that it is today. So if you're serious about doubling your business in the next 18 months, what I want you to understand is that you have to be an absolute expert in your niche. There's a real truth that the 80-20 rule shows us, and it's that more and more of the rewards, the spoils, what makes us great are going to go to those people who are at the top. The number 1 or number 2 player in any niche gets the business. Everybody else is fighting for everything else. So your expertise matters. You have to be the best at what you do, specifically to your niche. And when you're, this is also very important for small businesses, because we don't have marketing budgets that allow us to say that we're great at everything. So we have to use our marketing, advertising, our shoe leather time very wisely, and the best way to do that is to really be an expert, to have a niche, to focus on it specifically, and make sure that they know that if they hire you, you're going to solve their problem. So expertise matters more than anything else. Understanding the expertise and understanding our niche market very clearly allows us to focus our marketing to find more people who look like our great customers, and really allows you to stand out in a crowd. That's what's so important. Without it, you're just one of many fighting for the crumbs. Hope you understand why having that niche focusing on your market is just so critically important to giving yourself the opportunity to create a business that can grow. And again, I recognize for most of us, it's a little bit of a leap of faith to try and narrow our niche. But narrowing your niche is what's going to allow you to be the expert, understand your value proposition, sell more to your target clients, and importantly, find more who look just like them, right? So now let's talk about marketing, because marketing's job is to find more who look just like them. And it's when we've done this first part, it allows us to put a marketing program in place that will help us find more customers. So as I like to say, what is marketing supposed to do for us? Well, I really think it has to do three things. First, well, what should marketing do for us? The most important thing I think marketing does should be to generate leads, and not just any leads, but it needs to generate leads that are our ideal clients. That's what makes us grow fast and be profitable. So what marketing needs to do is it needs to make our ideal clients notice us. It needs to educate them as to why they should consider us. And finally, it needs to create a relatively easy and low-risk way for them to raise their hand and enter our sales process. So to do that means that our outside perception, what we tell the world, has to match what makes us really great. And if it doesn't, it's impossible for marketing to do its job. So let's talk about that for a second. What is it that makes you great in your business? If we go back to the 80-20 rule, if we go back to the question I asked earlier about your top clients, what is it that makes you great? Well, the answer to that comes from your top client. They'll tell you what makes you great, but that's what we have to know. What is it that makes you great? That is your inside reality. Your outside perception is what people who don't know what makes you great, what they know about you. So if and what people know about you on the outside comes from your marketing. It's your marketing that tells them what makes you great. And the problem with almost everybody's marketing is it's full of jargon, dreary and commonplace. It has no power. We say things over and over again that are stated as if they're significant or original when they're not, and they sound like everybody else. So just think about that. Here's something for you to think about. If you looked at your marketing, any piece of your marketing, are you filling it with jargony words? These are jargon words: largest selection, highest quality, best service, most convenient, work harder, we're experts fastest. My favorite, of course, is that we've been in business for 4,000 years. If we're saying those things, the problem is there's nothing in our marketing that explains why we are number one in our niche. So why would anybody pay attention to us? So this goes back to this critical issue, and I call it the inside reality versus outside perception. What makes you great is your inside reality. What your marketing says about you is your outside perception. And if our marketing is filled with jargon, then there's absolutely no way for our customers to understand why we're good at what we're good at. So let me just give you a couple tests. And here's some things that I want you to think about right away. This is where I said pull out a piece of your existing marketing, look at an ad, look at your website, and answer these three tests. These are my jargon tests. The first is the well, I would hope so test. So if you look at your marketing and it says things that for the most part are a requirement of your business, then you would fail the well, I would hope so test. So if you're an accountant and you say, I'm a certified public accountant, I passed my CPA exam, well, I would hope so. If you say I accept Visa and MasterCard, well, I would hope so. If you use certified subcontractors, well, I would hope so. These are things that we expect of everybody, and if they're in your marketing, they're doing nothing to differentiate yourself. The other test, the second test, is the who else can say that test. Who else can say what you're saying? So if your inside reality is unique, if you're doing something that nobody else is doing, then you need to say it. So I'll give you a quick example. There was a moving company, and they had purchased a full replacement value insurance, which is fairly unique in the business. But their marketing said that they were fully insured. But guess what? All moving companies are fully insured, but most of them carry an insurance that's based on pennies per pound. So if they break your $2,000 HD high definition flat screen TV, they'll pay you about $100 because it doesn't weigh a lot. They had a full replacement value insurance policy, but they weren't saying it. So if you're doing something, if you're just saying what everybody else is saying and you're not articulating what makes you different, you're failing that test. Final and last one is what I call the cross out and write in test. If you just cross out your name and write in the name of your competitor and it still is a valid argument, then you failed that test. You are not explaining what makes you unique in your business. All right. So how do we fix this? Well, I'll tell you, besides jargon, which is my #1 pet peeve, my #2 pet peeve is that we're not following a formal conversion equation in everything that we do. So our conversion equation consists of 4 parts: interrupt, engage, educate, and offer. And all 4 of these parts have to be included in every form of marketing that you have. So let's look at this one at a time. First, the interrupt. The interrupt is used to get your customer's attention. And what customer are we talking about? We're talking about your ideal customer. So the interrupt should only its job is to focus on getting your ideal customer's attention. And the interrupt is the headline. It's the first thing you say. If it's in radio and TV, it's the subject line. If it's an email, it's the top of the letter. If it's a print ad, it's whatever's at the top of the page. It's the first thing you say, and for it to actually get your customer's attention, it must be based on one of their hot buttons, a specific issue that's important to them. And in general, headlines almost always are most effective when they focus on a problem, the problem that your ideal customer faces. The engage is the second thing that you say. We call it the subheadline, but the engage gives them the promise that there is information forthcoming that will help the prospect make the best buying decision possible. So in the world of engage, I always say that the headline, the interrupt is based on a hot button and a problem, and the engage is based on the promise of that solution and often means the result that they're looking for. So once you say those 2 things, if you've interrupted them with their problem, you've engaged them with the potential for a solution, your ideal client is very much likely to be interested in learning more, and that's where the educate comes in. In every ad, whether it's a 30-second radio commercial, a full-page newspaper, Yellow Pages ad, a website, or, for example, a webinar, once the ideal client has got their attention, we have to give them information that will allow them to logically understand how and why you solve the problem that they're facing. Finally, once they understand that, we need to give them an offer, and it's important to understand that that offer should be a low-risk way to take the next step in the sales process. We want to allow our prospects to feel in complete control of their final decision to go ahead and call you. So putting it together, I'll give you a couple examples. Just remember, interrupt, engage, educate, and offer. That's our marketing equation, and it needs to be in every form of marketing that we do, period. So let's look at this chiropractor. It's a chiropractor. We pulled it off the internet. I have no idea who they are, but they fail miserably in our conversion equation. Why? Because they don't have any of these things. What is their headline? What's the problem that they're talking about? It's all about them at the top of the page. What's the subheadline? There is none. Is there any educate? Maybe if you go into some of the other windows, they'll tell you a little bit about treatments or processes that they use, but nothing on the ad part or the page that you would land on gives them any real education. The only thing on this page is an offer, and their offer is call me. And that is not a low-risk way to take the next step in the sales process. Call me is a relatively tough thing to do. Who wants to call a salesperson? Today, nobody wants to call a salesperson. So it's too easy for people to drop out of your sales process at that point. So let's look at one that we worked on that looks a little bit better. So this is this is an original ad from a child psychologist, Dr. John Smith, and you can see in the middle that he specializes in a whole bunch of things. So right down in there, he's sort of failing this idea of having a niche. Now the reality is his work as a psychologist, he may be able to apply his knowledge, tools, resources to all of these different issues. But I, as a prospect, don't have all of these different issues. I might only have one of them. Let's say I have just an emotionally disturbed child, one that's driving me crazy all the time, who's yelling and screaming and making my life miserable. So if that's me, if I just land on this page, there's nothing here that really speaks to my emotionally disturbed child other than the fact that he specializes in it. And my only offer in here is to call him for a free consultation. Okay. Some do, but that's not going to be enough to make you stand out if you have an emotionally disturbed child. But what about this? In this particular case, put a landing page together specifically focusing on people who had emotionally disturbed children. Now, this one follows our conversion equation to the T. There is a headline. Are you sick and tired of the yelling, screaming, and belligerent attitude of your child? Subheadline. Now you can discover the secrets to controlling your child and instantly restore peace and quiet in your home. So tell me, if you have an emotionally disturbed child and you get to this website, it's going to talk to you instantly. It's going to, I mean, if you're that mom, and this is a very good picture to look at just because it shows two people in a state of in a highly emotional state that works all the time. I mean, that really gets your attention. You know, that draws you right in. There's some educate in a short video, and now there's an offer on this page, which is much simpler and better for people to look at. You want to learn the secrets of gaining and maintaining complete control of your child in less than 60 seconds. So if I have an emotionally disturbed child, what I want is peace and quiet in my home, and all I got to do is give up my email address and you're going to give me the secrets to doing this, I'm probably willing to do it. Now, I know there's an awful lot of email marketing that goes on, but again, as the prospect, I'm in complete control. I can give you my name and email address. I'll look at what you got. If I like it, I will probably engage with you. If I don't like it, I'm just going to hit unsubscribe and get out. So I'm in complete control at that point of the sales process. And that particular ad or that particular process is very effective across the board. I've got lots of examples to walk through with you on that. But in the name of time, we're going to just skip right to the summary on the marketing side. Marketing's #1 job is to generate leads. And by the way, and I've said this already a couple times, not just any lead. I want ideal client leads. And marketing's job is to get the attention of our ideal client. It's to engage and educate them so that they understand why we are good at what we're good at. And then it's to make an offer that allows them to raise their hand and enter into our sales process and have them feel in control of that process. And the only way to pull all this together is to be very specific about your niche. Domino's Pizza was not talking about the fact that they got great pizza, eat in, dine out, you know, pepperoni this and gourmet pizza that. No, it was 30 minutes or free. Call us. I guarantee you're going to get it there when you need it. That was their niche, and everything they do from their marketing their advertising, their business model is all built around delivering on that particular niche. So now let's look at the last piece, which is the sales process. And I call it the sloppy sales process. But once we understand that we have a target audience that we want to really focus on, and we're going to niche that we're going to dominate, and that marketing's job is to generate leads for our sales team, I want to talk about something specifically as it relates to consideration rate, and that is, how is it that you build up enough lead flow? How do you get to those target clients so that you can then close them to grow your business? Well, first thing to know is that old school selling doesn't work anymore. And I don't know about you, but the last time I sat around to call clients and prospects, I got 98 out of 100 voicemails. Buyers are busier than ever, and between the internet and voicemail, email, the fact that people can do their own research online makes your job as a salesperson harder and harder if you just expect that you're going to be able to call somebody up, schedule an appointment, and explain why your product or service is the best. The buyer now is control of that sales process in a way that unlike they've ever been before, and you don't have to go back very far in time. I would say that over the last 20 years, it's changed dramatically. But over the last 5 years, we've seen probably 80 to 90% of that change. So it's changed, and it's speeding up along the way. So here's what's important for you to know. We need to dramatically improve your consideration rate. So your consideration rate is the percentage of your ideal clients that when they're ready to buy what you're selling, they consider you for that job. So to understand the consideration rate means we need to really be clear about the buyer's journey. So the buyer's journey, a couple things before we talk about the buyer's journey. First thing I want you to recognize is of your ideal clients, there are only a handful, 1-2% at most, that are actually looking to buy what you're selling right now. And in the world of sales, and to a large degree marketing, if your offer is call me, for example, in the area of marketing, we're all focused on those now buyers who are involved in vendor selection. And that's where all the competition is. And if you haven't been able to distinguish why they should buy from you, then your primary way to get that business is going to be based on price. So if you look at all the potential buyers, everybody who is a target customer of yours, you have to understand that they're going through a buyer's journey. So future buyers will be interested in the benefits of ownership, and you can talk to them about why they should buy. And then as they learn more, they're going to move themselves naturally to soon-to-be buyers, if they're indeed ideal clients for you, and they'll be looking at objections and have conversations about why they shouldn't buy. And then finally, once they're ready to buy, they're going to be talking about, well, who do I buy from? And the only way for them to be able to buy from you is if you've been able to be in contact with them throughout that entire process, to have that top-of-mind awareness. And just understand what that looks like. Here's an interesting chart that we pulled out a couple years ago from Lead Source magazine. I know these numbers change all the time, so I don't want you to focus too much on the exact number of touches as compared to the idea that's expressed here. But what we just talked about is somebody moving from prospect to client needs lots of touches. And the reason is because the now buyers might be okay with 1 or 2 touches, maybe 3 touches, as we say. That's where you're harvesting a low-hanging fruit. But the reality is, if you're going to expand your consideration rate, most of those other ideal target clients, you need to earn that top-of-mind awareness. You need to be in contact with them for a long period of time. You need to have a regular approach to move them through that buyer's process feed them information that is useful to them, that helps them grow their business. And what happens is at some point down the road, when they move into the I'm ready to buy now, they will be thinking of you. Look at some of the numbers on here because they're staggering. 65% of salespeople give up after the first 1 or 2 attempts to sell. So if somebody enters into your sales pipeline, they request some information, they have a phone call with you, they don't buy right away, you move on. And that's a natural thing for salespeople to do because they have to generate sales that month. It's that monthly quota, that annual quota, you got to feed your family issue that makes us focus on the now buyers. But our customers are telling us that it's not until the 7th or 8th point of contact that we even are earning that top of mind awareness. And at that point, 90-some% of salespeople have given up talking to them. So all the energy and the money and time and effort you spend marketing to get these people to even put themselves on your radar screen, 90% of it you throw out because you're not able to put in place an ongoing, consistent process that allows you to develop that relationship and let them move through the buyer's process the way they want to. So I generally look at it saying that you need to have at least 12, 8 to 12 real points of contact that your sales team can manage so that you're in a position of turning more prospects into clients. So by having the marketing address your target clients and really giving them the information that they need to go through the buyer's journey on their own time frame, we're able to dramatically increase our consideration rate. We need to use tools that automate the process of regularly touching our customers and our prospects. And then once we know how that process works, once we test it in a smaller scale, we want to be in a position to scale it up. Because as I said, I want to double your business every 18 months. Now, if your business is small, we can do a lot of this on a manual basis, spreadsheets, Rolodexes, you name it. But once you start getting big, if we've doubled it once, if we've doubled it twice, we're now 5 years down the road, and you're 3 times as big as when we started, it needs scale. And so that's where you want to then invest the money to automate and scale up that sales process so that you keep doubling every 18, 24 months. So let's look at the last piece, which is how do we do this? I like to look at a very simple sales process, something that my partner Gil Cargill brought to my attention. It's called the New Math of Sales Excellence. It's a formula that consists of 5 and only 5 items that we need to be managing as sales managers. Number of new meetings, and that's really what our marketing is supposed to do. Generate meetings with target clients. So as a sales manager, if I know how many first meetings, and that can be with existing prospects, it doesn't have to just be brand new clients, but it basically means a conversation to sell something to somebody. That is the first and most important indicator that we need to look at. The second one is, what are we selling? Dollars per opportunity. And coming up, I'll show you how we can look at a number of different strategies for increasing the dollars per opportunity. What we're really saying by saying we increase the dollars per opportunity is we're talking about increasing the value of what we do. And the best way to increase the value of what you do is to narrow your niche, focus on that target client, and make sure you're giving them exactly what they need to solve their problem. Second of all, then the third, obviously, is our closing percentage. This is sort of the traditional sales process work that sales training talks about. How do we become better salespeople, deal with objections, and convince people to take the next step in the process. I will tell you that as we scale this up, the better our marketing is and the better our marketing automation is, that allows people to go through that sales process on a bit of a self-service basis, our closing percentage will actually go up, because people who are not qualified leads and prospects will naturally drop out of the sales process before they even start dealing with a salesperson directly. We divide this by the length of the sales cycle. So what are the things that we can do to shorten the amount of time it takes for a prospect to go from a prospect to a customer? The shorter that can be, the more turns essentially we get. And the last, which I think is very interesting, is this idea of full-time equivalent. So how much real sales time is being spent? If you're a small company, if you're a business owner and you're doing a lot of the sales yourself, we know that time gets to be limited. If you have a sales team, it's the same thing. How much time are they actually spending selling? And one of the real keys here is to make sure the processes that we develop across your business are structured so that the salespeople get to sell and everybody else does everything else, because the salespeople have to be out selling, and there's always sales time that needs to be done to drive revenue. And I would actually say that that's reasonably true, and this process still works even if you, for example, have a complete online business. But that's an aside we can talk about later. So what we've talked about are these three massive mistakes, three keys to accelerating growth. Well, actually, sorry, let me back that up for a second. The last thing that I want to talk about here a little bit is, okay, if we've identified the mistakes that are out there, and we've looked at the three areas that you need to focus on, then how do you fix it, and how do you actually put in place a process for accelerating your growth? So here's what I want you to think about. The keys we've talked about so far are to make sure that you know who your best customers are. What I call doing an 80-20 analysis. We have to narrow our niche to be very specific on the problem that we're focusing on. We need to then adjust our unique selling proposition and our business model to make sure that we're serving that target customer base as well or better than anybody else in our market. Fourth, I guess we need to create the marketing that gets the attention and speaks directly to these best customers, these ideal customers. We then need to put some resources into it so that we get it in front of a larger percentage of our ideal customers and therefore scale up our consideration rate. It's really important that over time we maintain that top of mind awareness so that we can monetize all this investment that we make in business, in developing the right business model and creating the right marketing tools. And then finally, we need to put in place a sales process that allows us to really track against those five key metrics of sales success. That's the process that we want to go through to allow you to double your business every 18 months. Now, why should you do this? Well, here's the bottom line. This is hard. I guarantee you that anybody that runs through this process and comes out the other side and has doubled their business in 18 months, and if you've done it twice in 36 months, 3 times in 4 years, 5 years, you know that it's hard, but it actually gets easier once you create a process that allows this to happen. I've done this for my own businesses 5 or 6 times. Done it for other clients multiple times, and I want to repeat, the change is really hard, but if you stick with it, if you follow the process, it's going to happen. And as a result of that, you're going to find yourself having created a business that is thriving and, importantly, has a positive impact on our community. I hope that allows you to take a step back and really enjoy your life, gives you the time and resources you need to do the things that you need to do things that you love. And I'd like you to take just a second after this presentation is over to really think for yourself, what would your life look like if you had a business and a process in place that allowed your business to be growing and doubling every 2 years, 18 months to 2 years. And what would that do for you? So how do you do this? I said I would cover how to go through this. So one of the things that I've done, I'm going to be sending out along with the copy or the recording of this presentation is our Accelerate Your Business Toolkit. I consider this a do-it-yourself toolkit. So it gives you all the tools that we use with our clients when we do this process. You will have them at your disposal. So that includes the book, The 80-20 Sales and Marketing. I'm actually not sending you the book. You got to go buy that yourself. But I think it's one of the best books I've ever read, and absolutely something you should buy. If I can get Perry to send me a bunch of them at a discount, then I would send them out to you. Right now I buy them on Amazon just like everybody else. We have a particular worksheet that allows you to do an 80-20 analysis of your business. That's the first step. We can then look at your marketing using the conversion equation evaluator. There's a workbook that allows you to build out your client-dominating process. We'll give you a whole bunch of marketing message starter kits and walk through the new map to sales excellence specifically. It's a white paper that Gil Cargill and I put together last year. And then there are several videos that you'll have access to. The first is what I consider to be a really exceptional video. Everything you know about marketing is wrong, and it walks through the more marketing mush segment section that we talked about. It's about an hour and 10 minutes long, and it will change the way you think about talking about your business. There's a new map to sales excellence presentation, also an hour-long presentation that goes into more detail on the sales process side, and a copy of this 3 Massive Mistakes presentation. So you're going to get all that along with the recording of this presentation. And if you follow that process that we outlined in this presentation and that's outlined in here, you can put in place a process, objective of which is to double your business in 18 months. As you might imagine, we do this as well for our clients. And if you hang with me just a minute or two longer, I'm going to show you something that I think is really quite unique. But I use those same materials that we just looked at, and I call this a business acceleration system. And we start with these 3 massive mistakes. And there's a very specific process of doing the 80-20 analysis, doing the niche definition for the business, coming up with a marketing strategy that speaks specifically and converts specifically for that niche market, and then putting in place really I say 24-month, 18 to 24-month marketing plan that will drive the lead flow that you need to double your business. Okay, that's the first part of that. We do have a e-learning system that we put in place on top of that, and give all of our clients VIP access to it. And that really is a complete self-service marketing and sales system that gives you everything you need to know to double your business. And we layer on top of that with weekly group coaching and a weekly Ask the Expert call. So that's pretty unique. And then the third thing we do is to make sure that that stuff gets processed is we run local mastermind groups, business owner, CEO mastermind groups in the cities that we operate in. And we partner with our clients to do one-on-one executive coaching to make sure that everything that's on this list gets handled, right? So that's the exact same process that I'm giving you the tools for. That's what we do for our clients. It's not necessarily inexpensive. I think it has huge value. The process of doing the fixing the 3 massive mistakes on a one-to-one consulting business generally runs $10,000 to $15,000. Takes 2 to 3 months depending on the business. Our VIP e-learning system, which again is a bit of a self-service program, is about $4,000 a year, and these local mastermind groups that meet monthly. That includes the e-learning system, but runs at about $10,000 a year. So they're relatively significant price points. But again, if you have $1 million business and you're going to double it in 18 months, you're going to tell me that spending $10,000 a year to go through that process isn't worth it? Well, shame on you if you say that. But here's the deal. I got a better idea for you, and this is the bonus that I really hope you've stuck to the end for, because one of the things that we've noticed is that first part of the coaching process that we've been charging $10,000 to $15,000 for, it is the same process over and over again. And so as a result, what I've done is I've created a one-day double your business in 18 months boot camp. And this in this one day, over the course of 8 hours, we're going to actually walk through both lecture-wise, examples, worksheets for yourself, and testing it with your peers who are there. We're going to do the 80-20 analysis. We're going to define the niche. We're going to develop the marketing strategy specifically for your business. And we're going to layer in a 24-month marketing plan that will allow you to make that happen. So what customers in the past have spent $10,000 to $15,000 on, we're going to do in this one-day boot camp. It happens to be this Friday, November 11th. We will probably do another one. This one's in Philadelphia. We will do them throughout the country next year. But we are going to limit them to 50 people, and it costs $495 to attend. But I do give you a 100% money-back guarantee. I know that this will be the most valuable day you spend working on your business all year long. And for $495, I think I can make you hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. So your investment is to spend a day with us. I'm practically giving it away. But it actually is that important to me because 99% of all businesses are making these 3 mistakes. They're not properly setting out their target market, their niche, their business plan, and their marketing message, and therefore they're doomed to failure. So if you find yourself bumping into the same problems over and over and over again, I really want you to consider spending a day with us and putting in place a process that will allow you to break that cycle. But here's the special offer that I hope you've stuck around to hear. If you register today, and seeing as our next boot camp is Friday in 2 days, that it really is a today, register today, I'm going to give you a 50%, $250 off coupon, and I'll give you a free copy of my partner Jim Muehlhausen's book, The 51 Fatal Business Errors. To register today, and by the way, if you register today, I will also buy you that copy of 80-20 Sales and Marketing by Perry Marshall that we talked about. So essentially, this is free once we throw in food, room, books, and people to share this information with you. This essentially is a free day that will hopefully generate hundreds of thousands of dollars for your business. Can't make the deal any better than that. So if you go to our website, www.aquila-partners.com/accelerate-bootcamp, use the coupon code WEB1109. Do it today. Come join us on Friday. I will show you step by step exactly what you need to do to double your business in 18 months. And I really hope you can join us. If you can't make it on Friday, give me a call, and I'll talk to you about how you can take advantage of at least our e-learning system on a do-it-yourself basis, or potentially join one of our CEO peer advisory boards. And if you tell me you got here through the webinar, we'll make it we'll give you a very special price on those options as well. Thank you for listening. We look forward to talking to you soon.